A lot of you guys and girls come on my Facebook with a large number of different questions. One that keeps on coming up all the time is about mainlines. The big question here so much is braid or mono. So let's start with that, braid. Of course we do the famous bullet braid. In tackle box sales it's the biggest seller and we never advertise it. I think it's the biggest selling braid because it's so heavy, and that is a massive advantage of it. You don't need back leads or anything. In fact, when you lift it up in silty water you feel it pluck out the bottom. So a massive advantage of a bullet braid is your line is not off the bottom, it's completely hidden. The other reason people like braid is because there's no stretch. So when, for example, you're casting out and pulling back to a feature, you can feel everything represent you through the tip ring. So it's great for finding your spot. And of course, bite indication is so positive because there's no stretch. The downside of braid is the fact it's got no stretch. So it can be really scary playing fish. You feel every lunge through the rod, but personally, I won't use it now if I ever believe I've got to hold on to a carp. I've had a few mishaps in the past where trying to stop carp going around islands and that, and my hook links being destroyed. So it would be my first choice if I was in open water and never had to clamp down. Then I'd use braid all the time, but unfortunately most of my fishing there is times when I've got to hook and hold them. So for that reason I go on to monos for most of my fishing. Now we do 3 monos. I'll start with the decam. It's the mono I use, and the reason I use it is because it's very strong, very reliable. Number one thing for me is abrasion resistance. It is to me the big one. Most waters now have weed in them. Weed is by its own definition abrasive. You get all the snails and everything and grit in it. It can really damage a line, and that's without other things like snags and all that. So I want a line, if it touches a snag, it's not going to just part, because it's got no abrasion resistance. Other advantages of decam over other lines is exactly what it is. It's got the NXT decam. It's got a unique camouflage, that just basically disappears on the bottom. Knot strength, diameter, it's probably it's up there with the best. Also very heavy for a mono as well. So again, it's getting towards a braid, but for me number one is abrasion resistance. Then we do 2 others. We brought out this new line in the spring called Zig Flow, primarily designed for floater fishing or zig fishing. The first question I'll be asked is why don't I use the NXT decam for that? The reason is because we designed the decam to be really heavy, to make the line as heavy as we could. So complete opposite with a zig line or floater line. Of course you want it as light as possible, as buoyant as possible to float up to the surface with a zig bugger on the surface. So that is the reason we got Zig Flow. So if you want a line for floater work, I'd recommend the Zig Flow. Then we have soon to be launched Hardcore. It's a belts and braces mono basically, but we recognise a number of people, they just haven't got the money to buy a high premium mono, so we've brought out a good basic mono, that is great value for the money. That's all I can say. Apparently someone has been, or some companies have recommended that when you spool up, soak your spool in water firstly for 24 hours. But by soaking the spool, of course, you're expanding the mono, and so spools can blow up on you, so I'd never recommend it. I'll go through the process of spooling up for all you. Firstly, I'll use a bucket of water. Stick your finger through the label, that stops the spool tipping up. I never believe in putting the spool on the ground and having the line come off the lip, because it might be going off the complete opposite way that it was wound on, and that's one cause of line twist, where it's logical. If you're pulling the line off the spool, the spool spun to load it, so it must go on the right way through. So you put the spool in there. Now on my reel, you'll note I've sellotaped the line to the reel. I haven't knotted it. That's because I once had a bad accident in France. I'd rowed a bait out and was going back to shore, and I saw what I thought was a carp bow waving out, but it was actually my rod. It spooled me in the time I was out in the lake, and my rod was being pulled across the lake, and it was a right turn rake to get it back. Why spooling water? Well, as I said, that you can keep the spool upright. By the way, if you have the water too deep, the spool might tip over, so I only have a shallow amount of water, but that means the line is being lubricated as you wind it on. Your fingers don't get burnt. You can put a bit of tension on it, so that's why I do it. So simple as that. Wind it on, keep an eye on the line lay. It's all going on great, and look how it's not burning my fingers. Spool spinning away nicely, so I know it's all going on the right way. And it tipped over. It does tip over. Just stop, because I was going too fast. It's important you keep that spool going that way, then you don't get line twist. And that's about it. So there you go, perfectly filled spool. And like I say, I can cast that all day long. Play a dozen carp, and that now won't drop down on the lip because I put it under with a bit of tension because I had the line wet, and no line twist. That line's not at all twisted, limp and beautiful. Okay, all you need to know about line. Hope it's been helpful.